Percy and the signal. Percy is a little green tank engine who works in the yard at the big station. He is a funny little engine and loves playing jokes. These jokes sometimes get him into trouble. Beep, beep, he whistled one morning. Hurry up, Gordon, the train's ready. Gordon thought he was late and came puffing out. Ha ha! Laughed Percy and showed him a train of dirty coal trucks. Gordon didn't go back to the shed. He stayed on a siding thinking how to pay Percy out. Stay in the shed today, squeaked Percy to James. The Fat Controller will come and see you. James was a conceited engine. Ah, he thought, the Fat Controller knows I'm a fine engine, ready for anything. He wants me to pull a special train. So James stayed where he was, and nothing his driver and fireman could do would make him move. But the Fat Controller never came, and the other engines grumbled dreadfully. They had to do James's work as well as their own. At last an inspector came. Show a wheel, James, he said crossly. You can't stay here all day. The Fat Controller's told me to stay here, answered James sulkily. He sent a message this morning. He did not, retorted the inspector. How could he? He's away for a week. Oh, said James. Oh, and he came quickly out of the shed. Where's Percy? Percy had wisely disappeared. When the Fat Controller came back, he did see James, and Percy too. Both engines wished he hadn't. James and Gordon wanted to pay Percy out, but Percy kept out of their way. One morning, however, he was so excited that he forgot to be careful. I say, you engines, he bubbled. I'm to take some trucks to Thomas's Junction. The Fat Controller chose me specially. He must know I'm a really useful engine. More likely he wants you out of the way, grunted James. But Gordon gave James a wink, like this. Wink. Ah, yes, said James. Just so you were saying, Gordon? James and I were just speaking about signals at the junction. We can't be too careful about signals, but then I needn't say that to a really useful engine like you, Percy. Percy felt fluttered. Of course not, he said. We had spoken of backing signals, put in James. They need extra special care. You know, would you like me to explain? No, thank you, James, said Percy airily. I know all about signals. And he bustled off importantly. James and Gordon solemnly exchanged winks. Percy was a little worried as he set out. I wonder what backing signals are, he thought. Never mind, I'll manage. I know all about signals. He puffed crossly to his trucks and felt better. He saw a signal just outside the station. Bother! He said. It's a danger! Oh, oh, oh! Screamed the trucks as they bumped into each other. Presently, the signal moved to show line clear. Its arm moved up instead of down. Percy had never seen that sort of signal before. He was surprised. Down means go, he thought, and up means stop. So upper still must mean go. Go back. I know, as well as backing signals. How clever of me to find that out. Come on, Percy, said his driver. Off we go. But Percy wouldn't go forward, and his driver had to let him back in order to start at all. I am clever, thought Percy. Even my driver doesn't know about backing signals, and he started so suddenly that the truck screamed again. Whoa! Percy called his driver. Stop! You're going the wrong way! But it's a backing signal, Percy protested, and told him about Gordon and James. The driver laughed and explained about signals that point up. "Oh dear," said Percy. "Let's stop quickly before they come and see us." But he was too late. Gordon swept by with the express and saw everything. Boop, boop. The big engines talked about signals that night. They thought the subject was funny. They laughed a lot. Percy thought they were being very silly. Duck takes charge. "Do you know what?" asked Percy. "What?" grunted Gordon. Do you know what?" "Silly," said Gordon crossly. "Of course I don't know what. If you don't tell me, what is?" "The Fat Controller says the work in the yard is too heavy for me. He's getting a bigger engine to help me." "Rubbish," put in James. "Any engine could do it," he went on grandly. "If you worked more and chattered less, this yard would be a sweeter and a better and a happier place." Percy went off to fetch some coaches. "That stupid old signal," he thought. "No one listens to me now. They think I'm a silly little engine and order me about. I'll show them. He puffed as he ran about the yard, but he didn't know how. Things went wrong. The coaches and trucks behaved badly. By the end of the afternoon, he felt tired and unhappy. He brought some coaches to the station and stood panting at the end of the platform. "Hello, Percy," said the Fat Controller. "You look tired." "Yes, sir. I am, sir. I don't know if I'm standing on my dome or my wheels." "You look the right way up to me," laughed the Fat Controller. "Cheer up. The new engine is much bigger than you and could probably do the work alone. Would you like to help build my new harbour at Thomas's Junction? Thomas and Toby will help, but I need an engine there all the time." "Oh, yes, sir. Thank you, sir," said Percy happily. The new engine arrived next morning. "What is your name?" asked the Fat Controller kindly. "Montague, sir, but I'm usually called Duck. They say I waddle. I don't really, sir, but I like Duck better than Montague." "Good," said the Fat Controller. "Duck it shall be. Here, Percy, come and show Duck round." The two engines went off together. At first the trucks played tricks, but soon found that playing tricks on Duck was a mistake. The coaches behaved well, though James, Gordon and Henry did not. They watched Duck quietly doing his work. "He seems a simple sort of engine," they whispered. "We'll have some fun." "Wah, wah, wah," they wheezed as they passed him. Percy was cross, but Duck took no notice. They'll get tired of it soon, he said. Presently, the three engines began to order Duck about. Duck stopped. "Do they tell you to do things, Percy?" he asked. "Yes, they do," answered Percy sadly. "Right," said Duck. "We'll soon stop that nonsense." He whispered something. We do it tonight." The Fat Controller had had a good day. There had been no grumbling passengers. All the trains had run on time. And Duck had worked well in the yard. And the Fat Controller was looking forward to hot buttered toast for tea at home. He had just left the office when he heard an extraordinary noise. Woo! Woo! Ah! "Bother," he said, and hurried to the yard. Henry, Gordon and James were wheezing and snorting furiously, while Duck and Percy calmly sat on the points outside the shed, refusing to let the engines in. "Stop that noise!" he bellowed. Now, Gordon. They won't let us in," hissed the big engine crossly. Duck, please explain this behaviour. Beg pardon, sir, but I'm a Great Western engine. We Great Western engines do our work without fuss, but we are not ordered about by other engines. You, sir, are our controller. We will, of course, move if you order us, but begging your pardon, sir, Percy and I'd be glad if you would inform these, engines that we only take orders from you. Three engines hissed angrily. Silence! Snapped the Fat Controller. Percy and Duck, I am pleased with your work today, but not with your behaviour tonight. You have caused a disturbance. Gordon, Henry, and James sniggered. They stopped suddenly when the Fat Controller turned for them. As for you, he thundered, you've been worse. You made the disturbance. Duck is quite right. This is my railway, and I give the orders. When Percy went away, Duck was left to manage alone. He did it so easily. Percy and Harry. Percy worked hard at the harbour. Toby helped him, but sometimes the loads of stone were too heavy, and Percy had to fetch them for himself. Then he would push the trucks along the quay to where the workmen needed the stone for their building. An airfield was close by, and Percy heard the aeroplanes zooming overhead all day. The noisiest of all was a helicopter, which hovered, buzzing like an angry bee. Stupid thing, said Percy. Why can't it go and buzz somewhere else? One day, Percy stopped near the airfield. The helicopter was standing quite close. Hello, said Percy. Who are you? I'm Harold. Who are you? I'm Percy. What whirly great arms you've got. They're nice arms, said Harold, offended. I can hover like a bird. Don't you wish you could hover? Certainly not. I like my rails, thank you. I think railways are slow, said Harold in a bored voice. They're not much use and quite out of date. He waved his arms and buzzed away. Percy found Toby at the top station arranging trucks. I say, Toby, he burst out. That Harold, that stuck-up whirlybird thing says I'm slow and out of date. Just let him wait. I'll show him. He collected his trucks and started off, still fuming. Soon above the clatter of the trucks, they heard a familiar buzzing. Percy, whispered his driver. There's Harold. He's not far ahead. Let's race him. Yes, let's, said Percy excitedly. And quickly gathering speed, he shot off down the line. The guard's wife had given him a flask of tea for elevenses. He had just poured out a cup when the van lurched and he spilt it down his uniform. He wiped up the mess with his handkerchief and staggered to the front platform. Percy was pounding along. The truck screamed and swayed, while the van rolled and pitched like a ship at sea. Well, I'll be ding-dong danged, said the guard. Then he saw Harold buzzing along and understood. Go it, Percy, he yelled. You're gaining! Percy had never been allowed to run fast before. He was having the time of his life. Hurry, hurry, hurry! He panted to the trucks. We don't want to, they grumbled, but it was no use. Percy was bucking along with flying wheels, and Harold was high and alongside. The fireman shovelled for dear life, while the driver was so excited he could hardly keep still. Well done, Percy! He shouted. We're gaining! We're going ahead! Oh, good boy, good boy! Far ahead, a distant signal warned them that the wharf was near. Shut off steam! Whistle. Beep, beep, beep! Brakes, guard, please. Using Percy's brakes too, the driver carefully checked the train's headlong speed. They rolled under the main line and halted smoothly on the wharf. "Oh dear," groaned Percy. "I'm sure we've lost." The fireman scrambled to the cab roof. "We've won! We've won! Woohoo!" he shouted, and nearly fell off in his excitement. Harold's still hovering. "He's looking for a place to land." "Listen, boys," the fireman called. "Here's a song for Percy." Said Harold, "The helicopter to up. I see you were slow. Your railway is out of date, not much use, you know." But Percy, with the snow trucks, he did the trumpet record time. But we bet that helicopter's on our branch line. Wait, that was a bit of rap. Said Harold, "The helicopter to up. I see you were slow. Your railway is out of date, not much use, you know." But Percy, with the snow trucks, did the trumpet record time. But we beat that helicopter on our old branch line. The driver and guard soon caught the tune, and so did the workman on the quay. Percy loved it. "Oh, thank you," he said. He liked the last line best of all. Percy's promise. A mob of excited children poured out of Annie and Clabber one morning and raced down to the beach. "They're the vicar's Sunday school," explained Thomas. "I'm busy this evening, but the station master says I can ask you to take them home." "Of course I will," promised Percy. The children had a lovely day, but at tea time it got very hot. Dark clouds loomed overhead. Then came lightning, thunder, and rain. The children only just managed to reach shelter before the deluge began. Annie and Clabber stood at the platform. The children scrambled in. "Can we go home, please, station master?" "Can we go home, please, station master?" asked the vicar. The station master called Percy. "Take the children home quickly, please," he ordered. The rain streamed down on Percy's boiler. "Oh!" he shivered, and thought of his nice dry shed. Then he remembered. "A promise is a promise," he told himself. "So here goes." His driver was anxious. The river was rising fast. It foamed and swirled fiercely, threatening to flood the country any minute. The rain beat in Percy's face. "I wish I could see, I wish I could see," he complained. They left the cutting and found themselves in water. "Oh, my wheels!" shivered Percy. "It's cold!" But he struggled on. "Ooh!" he hissed. "It's sloshing my fire!" They stopped and backed the coaches to the cutting and waited while the guard found a telephone. He returned looking gloomy. "We couldn't go back if we wanted," he said. "The bridge near the junction is down." The fireman went to the guard's van, carrying a hatchet. "Hello," said the guard. "You look fierce." "I want some dry wood for Percy's fire, please." They broke up some boxes, but that did not satisfy the fireman. "I'll have some I'll have some of your floorboards," he said. "What? But my nice floor," grumbled the guard. "I only swept it this morning." But he found a hatchet and helped. Soon they had plenty of wood stored in Percy's bunker. His fire burned well now. He felt warm and comfortable again. Buzz, buzz, buzz! "Oh dear," thought Percy sadly. "Harold's come to laugh at me." Bump! Something thudded on Percy's boiler. "Ow!" he explained in a muffled voice. "That's really too bad. He needn't throw things." His driver unwound a parachute from Percy's indignant front. "Harold isn't throwing things at you," he laughed. "He's dropping hot drinks for us." They all had a drink of cocoa and felt better. Percy had steam up now. "Beep, beep! Thank you, Harold," he whistled. "Come on, let's go." The water lapped his wheels. Oh, he shivered. It crept up and up and up and up. It reached his ashpan. Then it sloshed its fire. Oosh! Percy was losing steam, but he plunged bravely on. I promised, he panted. I promised. They bowled his fire high with wood and managed to keep him steaming. I must do it, he gasped. I must. He made a last great effort and stood, exhausted but triumphant, on rails which were clear of the flood. He rested to get steam back, then brought the train home. 3 cheers for Percy, called the vicar, and the children nearly raced to the roof. The factory controller arrived and Harold. First he thanked the man. Harold told me you were a wizard, Percy, he said. He can beat you at some things, Percy snorted. But not at being a submarine, he chuckled. I don't know what you've both been playing at. I won't ask. But I do know that you're a really useful engine. Oh, sir, whispered Percy happily. Percy takes the plunge. Sometimes Percy takes some stone trucks to the other end of the line. There he meets engines from the other railway. One day, Henry wanted to rest in the shed, but Percy was talking to some tank engines. It was raining hard. Water swirled under my boiler. I couldn't see where I was going, but I struggled on. Oh, Percy, you are brave. Well, said Percy modestly, it wasn't anything really. Water's nothing to an engine with determination. Tell us more, Percy, said the engines. What are you engines doing here? Hissed Henry. This shed is for the fat controller's engines. Go away. Silly things, Henry snorted. They're not silly. Percy had been enjoying himself. He was cross because Henry had sent them away. They are silly, and so are you. What does nothing to an engine with determination? Pah! Anyway, said Chinky Percy. I'm not afraid of water. I like it. He ran away singing. Once an engine attached to a train was afraid of a few drops of rain. Percy arrived home feeling pleased with himself. Silly old Henry, he chuckled. Thomas was looking at a board on the quay. It said, danger. We mustn't go past it, he said. That's orders. Why? Danger means falling down something, said Thomas. I went past danger once and fell down a mine. Percy looked beyond the board. I can't see a mine, he said. He didn't know that the foundations of the quay had sunk and that the rails now sloped downwards to the sea. Stupid board, said Percy. For days and days he tried to sidle past it, but his driver stopped him every time. No, you don't, he would say. Then Percy made a plan. One day, at the top station, he whispered to the trucks, Will you give me a bump when we get to the quay? The trucks were surprised. They had never been asked to bump an engine before. They giggled and chattered about it the whole way down. Whoa, Percy, whoa, said his driver, and Percy chucked obediently at the distant signal. Driver doesn't know my plan, he chuckled. On, laughed the trucks. Percy thought they were helping. I'll pretend to stop at the station, but the trucks will push me past the board. Then I'll make them stop. I can do it. I can do that whenever I like. If Percy hadn't been so conceited, he would never have been so silly. Every wise engine knows that you cannot trust trucks. They reached the station, and Percy's brakes groaned. That was the signal for the trucks. Go on, they yelled, and surged forwards together. They gave Percy a fearful bump and knocked his driver and fireman off the footplate. Ow, said Percy, sliding past the board. The day was misty. The rails were slippery. His wheels wouldn't grip. Percy was frantic. That's enough, he hissed, but it was too late. Once on the slope, he tobogganed helplessly down, crashed through the buffers, and slithered into the sea. "You are a very disobedient engine." Percy knew that voice. He groaned. The foreman borrowed a small boat and rowed to the fat controller round. "Please, sir, get me out, sir. I'm truly sorry, sir." "No, Percy, we cannot do that till high tide. I hope it will teach you to obey orders." "Yes, sir." Percy shivered miserably. He was cold. Fish were playing hide-and-seek through his wheels. The tide rose higher and higher. He was feeling his position more and more deeply every minute. It was nearly dark when they brought floating cranes, cleared away the trucks, and lifted Percy out. It was too cold and stiff to move by himself, so he was sent to the works next day on Henry's goods train. "Well, well, well," chuckled Henry. "Did you like the water?" "No." "I'm surprised. You need more determination, Percy. Water's nothing to an engine with determination, you know. Perhaps you will like it better next time." But Percy is quite determined that there won't be a next time. Percy's predicament. Toby brought Henrietta to the stop station. Percy was grumpily shunting. "Hello, Percy," he said. "I see Daisy's left the milk again. I'll have to make a special journey with it, I suppose." Grumbled Percy. "Anyone would think I'd nothing to do." Toby pondered the problem. "Tell you what," he said at last, "I'll take the milk, you fetch my trucks." The drivers and the station master agreed, and both engines set off. They thought it'd be a nice change. Percy trundled away to the quarry. He had never been there before. "It's steep," he thought, "but I can manage. Trucks don't dare to play tricks on me now." He marshalled them in a long, lordly way. "Hurry along there," he said, and bumped them as if they were dallied. The trucks were annoyed. "This is Toby's place," they grumbled. "Percy's got no right to poke his funnel up here and push us around." They whispered and passed the word. "Pay Percy out, pay Percy out, pay Percy out, pay Percy out." At last they were all arranged. "Come along," puffed Percy sharply. "No nonsense." "We'll give him nonsense," giggled the trucks. But they followed so quietly that Percy thought they were completely under control. They rumbled along the twisty line till they saw ahead the notice saying, "All trains stop to pin down brakes." "Beep, beep, beep," whistled Percy. "Brakes? God, please!" But before he could check them, the trucks surged forward. "On, on, on!" they cried. Percy, taken by surprise, could not stop them, and in a moment they were careering down the hill. "Help! Help!" whistled Percy. The man on duty at the street crossing rushed to warn the traffic with his red flag, but was too late to switch Percy onto the runaway siding. A slow-moving cockerel lost his tail feathers as Percy thundered across, but Percy couldn't bother with him. He had other things to worry about. Frantically trying to grip the rails, he slid past the engine shed into the yard. "Beep, beep! Look out!" he whistled. As driving fireman jumped clear, Percy shut his eyes and waited for the end. At the end of the yard, there were sheds where workmen shaped rough stone brought from the quarry. Then they loaded it onto trucks, which are pulled to another siding out of the way. A train of these stood here when Percy came slithering down. The guard had left his van. He was talking to the station master. They heard frantic whistling and a splintering crash. They rushed from the office. The brake van was in smithereens. Percy, still whistling, fit to burst, was perched on a couple of trucks. while his own trucks were piled up behind him. The Fat Controller arrived the next day. Toby and Daisy had helped remove most of the wreckage, but Percy still stood on his perch. "We must now try," said the Fat Controller crossly, "to run the branch line with Toby and a diesel. You have put us in an awkward predicament." "I'm sorry, sir." "You can stay there," the Fat Controller went on, "till we are ready. Perhaps it will teach you to be careful with trucks." Percy sighed. The trucks wobbled beneath his wheels. He quite understood now. He quite understood about awkward predicaments. The Fat Controller spoke severely to Daisy too. "My engines do not tell lies," he said. "They work hard, with no shirking. I send lazy engines away." Daisy was ashamed. "However," he went on, "Toby said you worked hard yesterday after Percy's accident, so you shall have another chance." Ghost Train. And every year on the date of the accident, it runs again, plunging into the gap, shrieking like a lost soul. "Percy, what are you talking about?" "The Ghost Train. Driver saw it last night." "Where?" asked Thomas and Toby together. "He didn't say, but it must have been on our line," he said. "He says ghost trains run as a warning to others. Ooh," he went on, "it makes my wheels wobble to think of it." "Pooh," said Thomas. "You're just a silly little engine, Percy. I'm not scared." "Thomas didn't believe in your ghost," said Percy next morning. His driver laughed. "Neither do I. It was a pretend ghost on television." Percy was disappointed, but he was too busy all day with his stone trucks to think about ghosts. That evening he came back. Light engine from the harbour. He liked running at night. He coasted along without effort, the rails humming cheerfully under his wheels, as signal lights changing to green at his approach. He always knew just where he was, even in the dark. "Crow's Farm Crossing," he chanted happily. "We shan't be long now." Sam had forgotten that Mr. Crow wanted a load of slime taken down to 40-acre field. When he remembered, it was nearly dark. He drove in a hurry, bumped over the crossing, and sank his cart's front wheels in mud at the field gate. The horse tried hard, but still couldn't move. The cart's tail still fouled the railway. Sam gave it up. He unharnessed the horse and rode back to the farm for help. There's still time, he told himself. The next train isn't due for an hour, but he'd reckoned without Percy. Percy broke the cart into smithereens, and lime flew everywhere. They found no one at the crossing, so went on to the nearest signal box. "Hello," said the signalman. "What have you done to Percy? He's white all over." Percy's driver explained. "I'll see to it," said the signalman. "Better clean Percy, or people will think he's a ghost." Percy chuckled. "Do let's pretend I'm a ghost and scare Thomas. That'll teach him to say I'm a silly little engine." On their way, they met Toby, who promised to help. Thomas was being oiled up for his evening train, when Toby hurried in, saying, "Percy's had an accident." "Poor engine," said Thomas. "Botheration! That means I'll be late." "They've cleared the line for you," Toby went on. "But there's something worse." "Out with it, Toby," Thomas interrupted. "I can't wait all evening." "I've just seen something," said Toby in a shaky voice. "It looked like Percy's ghost. It was coming to warn us." "Pooh, who cares? Don't be frightened, Toby. I'll take care of you." Percy approached the shed quietly and glided through it. "Beep, beep, 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 beep," he shrieked. As had been arranged, Toby's driver and fireman quickly shut the doors. "Let me in! Let me in!" said Percy in a spooky voice. "No, no!" answered Toby. "Not by the smoke of my chim! I'll chuff, and I'll puff, and I'll break your door in." "Oh dear!" exclaimed Thomas. "It's getting late. I've no idea. I must find Annie and Clarabelle." He hurried out the other way. Percy was none of the worse for his adventure. He was soon clean, but Thomas never returned. Next morning, Toby asked him where he'd been. "Ah, well," said Thomas, "I knew you'd be sad about Percy, and I didn't like to intrude. I slept in the goods shed, and—" "Oh," he went on hurriedly. "Sorry, can't stop. Got to see a coach about a train." He shot off like a jackrabbit. Percy rolled up alongside. Well, he exclaimed. "What do you know about that?" "Anyone would think," chuckled Toby, "that our Thomas had just seen a ghost." Woolly Bear. Gangers had been cutting the line-side grass and cocking it. The Fat Controller sells the hay to hill farmers who want winter feed for their stock. At this time of year, when Percy comes back from the harbour, he stops where they have been cutting. The men load up his empty wagons, and he pulls them to Farquhar. Toby then takes them to the hills. The farmers collect the hay from Toby's top station. When in the wagons, the hay is covered to prevent it blowing out. But on the line side, it is stacked in the open air to dry. "Wheesh!" Percy gave his ghostly whistle. "Don't be frightened, Thomas," he laughed. "It's only me." "Your ugly fist is enough to frighten anyone," said Thomas crossly. "You're like ugly indeed. I'm a green caterpillar with red stripes," continued Thomas firmly. "You crawl like one too, although it's been late every afternoon this week." "It's the hay." "I can't help that," said Thomas. "Time's time, and the Fat Controller relies on me to keep it. I can't if you crawl in the hay till all hours." "Green caterpillar indeed," fumed Percy. "Everyone says I'm handsome. Or at least nearly everyone. Anyway, my curves are better than Thomas's corners." He took his trucks to the harbour and spent the morning shunting. "Thomas says I'm always late," he grumbled. "I'm never late, or at least only a few minutes." "What's that to Thomas? He can always catch up time further on." All the same, he and his driver decided to start home early. It was most unfortunate that just before they did, a creative treacle was upset over him. They wiped the worst off, but he was still sticky when he puffed away. The wind rose as they puffed along. Soon it was blowing a gale. "Look at that!" exclaimed his driver. The wind caught up the piled hay, tossing it up and over the track. The gangers tried to clear it, but more always came. "The line climbed here." "Take a run at it, Percy," his driver advised. So whistling warningly, Percy gathered speed, but the hay made the rail slippery, and his wheels wouldn't grip. Time after time he stalled with spinning wheels, and had to wait till the line ahead was cleared before he could start again. The signalman climbed the telegraph pole. The station master paced to the platform. Passengers fussed, and Thomas seethed impatiently. 10 minutes late, I warned him." Passengers all complained, and the Fat Controller, the signalman shouted. The station master stood amazed. The passengers exclaimed and laughed as Percy approached. "Sorry, I'm late," Percy panted. "So I should hope," scolded Thomas, but he spoiled the effect as Percy drew alongside. "Look what's crawled out of the hay," he chortled. "What's wrong?" asked Percy. Talk about hairy caterpillars, puffed Percy as he started away. It's worth being late to have seen you. When Percy got home, his driver showed him what he looked like in a mirror. "Bust my buffers!" exclaimed Percy. "No wonder they all laughed. I'm just like a woolly bear. Please clean me before Toby comes." But it was no good. Thomas told Toby all about it, and instead of talking about sensible things like playing ghosts, Thomas and Toby made jokes about Woolly Bear, caterpillars and other creatures which grew about in the hay. They laughed a lot, but Percy thought they were really being very silly indeed.